Since I haven't made a video on here in a while, and I wanted to make one, and I noticed that, of course, this is, the first full day of The Miz being WWE champion. Gotta admit, that's interesting to say that now. But, Spinnernet made a video. That's right, Spinnernet made a video. Whoa. Anyway, Spinnernet made a video. He talked about how, actually he called it, a proper build up before a wrestler wins his very first world title, and kind of gave like a little history about it. He even used guys such as Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and even his one of his favorite wrestlers, Jeff Hardy. He talked about how Jeff Hardy, he became Intercontinental Champion, had a little rivalry with Triple H, and worked his ass off, and then out of nowhere becomes WWE champion. Armageddon in 2008. This was the last Armageddon. But I just want to do a quick little video response. I understand where he's going with that. I understand you, Spinner, when you're going with that. But you probably know this better than anybody else, that WWE is so, they don't care about history. They don't. Meaning that, yes, there's a chance that The Miz could have been properly built up better, that he could have had, been in the mid-card division longer than what he had. And I know that, you talked about, Sheamus, became WWE world champion out of nowhere, and the same with Jack Swagger. But, and don't get me wrong, because honestly, I think The Miz deserves the world title more than Sheamus when he won it, more than Jack Swagger when he became world champion. But, we don't have that type of build-up anymore. We don't have the type of build-up, with the young guys, and that's what frustrates me. Of when guys such as Triple H, The Undertaker, when guys like that, and even Jericho and Edge, when those main event guys, when they retire, what are we gonna have? We're gonna have some young guys not gonna be properly built up right, and they're gonna be, in the main event out of nowhere. Excuse me. Sorry, there's like a nasty cough going around, but. It's just, we need to have these guys built up better. And I agree that we do. But I'm not going to take anything with The Miz because, after I made my video, my response, the reaction of The Miz winning the WWE Championship, I thought about it. And a friend of mine, Gold Izzy, mentioned that he came a long way. He has come a long way, you guys. You think about it. The guy was on freaking MTV reality TV show The Real World. He came from the freaking real world to professional wrestling. He came from the real world to Tough Enough, And then after Tough Enough, he came with hosting a Diva Search with Ashley Massaro, and then, he started, saying hoorah, and started calling all his fans the Misfits, and then he got with ECW, and made friends with John Morrison, became tag team champs, had a cool show, The Dirt Sheet, which I missed. That was a funny show. And then they got drafted. Morrison got drafted to SmackDown. Miz got drafted to Raw. They split up, and next thing you know, Miz was being jobbed to freaking John Cena. Yeah, that was fun to see the Miz job to John Cena around the summer of 2009. He was quote-unquote banned from Raw, and now he's taken more seriously. He's dressed more of a wrestler. He's not wearing baggy pants and a bandana and everything. Now he's looks like a professional wrestler. And I'm not saying The Miz is great in the ring. I'm not saying that he is, but I'm saying that he's at least decent in the ring. He can put some good matches, believe it or not. And we all know what he could do on the mic. He, in my opinion, he puts good, sometimes great promos. Yes, I know sometimes he can kind of get annoying, but it's his job. He's a heel. We're supposed to be annoyed by him, and I think he's gonna be one of those guys that, yes, he's a heel, but when he's a face, I think he's gonna be how do I say this? He's gonna be very well liked, not like The Rock, but no, because now y'all all gonna think that I'm comparing The Miz to The Rock, and I'm not even gonna go there. But anyway, the main point of this video is that yes, I get it. You know, WWE needs to improve their superstars. They need to build their young guys up, and they're doing some good job with that. I mean, look at Alberto Del Rio. Just like that, you know, he's getting, you know, a pretty big push. You know, he's facing, you know, Rey Mysterio, you know, right off the bat, you know. But it's just a weird topic to talk about because, you know, it's just been happening for a while. It's just been happening for several years of us seeing this, seeing guys that are not properly built up pretty well, and all of a sudden they become world champions. And then we've seen guys who have been pushed to the max, however, never become world champions in the WWE. You know, one guy that comes to my mind, and I know this might be a weird thought, but one guy that comes to my mind is Shelton Benjamin. And the reason why is because, think about it, Shelton Benjamin, but what do we see with the world's greatest tag team? You know, sidekick of Kurt Angle and, you know, Tri Haas. You know, them split up. What was happening when Shelton Benjamin got drafted to Raw? He faced Triple H. He beat Triple H like how many? 3 or 4 straight times, and then he became Intercontinental Champion. Then he had this whole gimmick of his mama, you know, coming down to the ring, and you know, his career kind of went downhill from there. But you know, I get it. You know, yes, we've seen guys who've been in WWE for a long time, you know, who've been properly built up, but never win it. And we've seen guys who haven't really been properly built up and all of a sudden become world champions. And I get it. That's not fair. I mean, a friend of mine mentioned Chris Masters should be world champion by now, but if he wouldn't caught doing freaking steroids, you know, he would have never been fired by WWE. And, you know, not freaking being a joke-sized jobber right now, who, you know, the only reason why he's out there is because he's showing out his pecs to the whole crowd, and the crowd thinks it's hilarious, you know, dung, 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 you know? But, you know, I get it. You know, these guys should be built up pretty well. But, you know, it's like what I said before. Give The Miz a chance. You know, he's worked hard. Nothing against The Miz. I'm not bashing The Miz. You know, just give the guy a chance. Obviously, we gave guys like Jack Swagger and Sheamus a chance, and that didn't work out too well. Look at him now. Jack Swagger happens to be on Superstars, occasionally on SmackDown. Sheamus losing to Santino Marella, and beat our truth for the whole King of the Ring tournament. That's going to happen, but yeah. But anyway, tell me what you guys think about, you know, the whole guys being built up properly. And so yeah, hope you guys liked the video, and that's about it.